Okay, so I just wanted to make a quick video discussing something that I get asked quite a bit, which is my prediction price of what Bitcoin will be. So typically when I'm discussing Bitcoin with people, a lot of people ask me, well, it's $10,000 today. Where do you think it's going to be in a year? Where do you think it's going to be in 6 months? And something that is really hard to answer, but I think I could sum it up really quickly in this video is trying to understand where we are in this market cycle. So in order to understand market cycles, there's something that is called a Wyckoff accumulation or Wyckoff distribution. And this is something that takes a while to play out. It takes about 12 years for the stock market, and it takes about 4 years for cryptocurrency. So because cryptocurrency is a digital technology, it's going to move a lot faster than something like Ford or General Electric, these older stock companies that have been around since, 100 years. And what's really interesting about where we're at now is in the 4 year cycle, we are actually at the third year. And this is really exciting because we're coming up on the end of the third year. These cycles have peaks typically around the holidays of the new year. And as you can see right now, we're in late September. We're only a couple months out from Christmas time and the New Year's. So right now I have my screen set up in a full year from 2020 to 2021. And what's really interesting about this chart right now is you see right here this big dip. So this big dip area was when the coronavirus shut down most of the world. So it was when the US decided to close its borders and when most of the world decided to close its borders to China and some of the hotspot countries like Italy and etc. So what this caused was, as you can see here in the beginning of the year, the price was steadily moving up, steadily moving up, steadily moving up. And then right here around February, it just took a tank down. So what this caused was this area right here, which basically at any point, if you bought during this bottom, you're in profit compared to today. Now, the problem with this is a lot of people, when they look back at these charts, they want to say, oh man, I wish I bought at this time. But you actually need to remember that the people who make the most money out of these markets are buying small amounts at every possible moment during this cycle. Now imagine with a stock market cycle that takes 10 to 12 years, you actually get half the amount of time in a cryptocurrency cycle, even less than half the amount of time. And the beautiful thing about this is that the prices are exponential. So Bitcoin started at $1, less than $1 actually. When it started trading, it got all the way up to $13, and then it came back down to around $1 again. And everyone was calling it a scam. And then during that time, it went from $1 up to $30. And then it came back down to $13, and it was the same sentiment. Everyone was calling it a scam. Then it went up to $300, and the same people that were calling it a scam at $13, you could see where this is going. It was just a pattern, and the way that these patterns work is in cycles. So what's really fascinating about right now is we're getting in at the last leg of what's going to be a cycle that will be way higher in price than this previous all-time high. So now that I have this whole chart pulled up, as you can see right here, the price in December of 2017 was an all-time high. It got as high as $20,000. Right now we're sitting at $10,000. So just basics would say that if I'm aware that this cycle goes from December 2017 for 4 years, that means around December 2021 is when we should expect a price way higher than this. And I would like to say we will. I would like to say that we would see a price somewhere around 28,000 And that would make a lot of sense, actually. If you look at this little dip right here, I'll reset this. If you look at this little dip right here, I personally believe that we're about to re-experience this dip. Very soon, actually. And if you look at the time horizon, you see it's September 2017, and it goes on to around October, mid-October. Now, that's actually where we're at. We're at that point right now where we're going to see the markets peak like they did right here. And now they're coming down and they're correcting a little bit. And I'll explain this a little deeper right now with something called the Wyckoff distribution method. So right here, we have these phases A, B, C, D, and E. Right now, I personally believe we are in this D phase. So look at that. We're right heading into E. And what E does is it gets you back to A, but even higher. Significantly higher, actually. We just experienced this moment called the spring. And I'll show you. So imagine over here, where my cursor is, this is the A point. I'm going to make it look exactly like this Wyckoff pattern. So pay attention to the left side. You see that the price is just steadily moving down from being very high. We'll go back to the Wyckoff. You see here, A, price is very high. It's coming down. Now I'm going to bring up some markers on the board and we'll see how this all looks. Okay, so these yellow lines represent the years, the new years. Here, this dotted red line is the elections. And why do the elections matter, right? Well, I would like to go ahead and say that these elections that are coming up are actually going to be the most historic elections we've ever had. We've had massive civil unrest already due to rioting and, you know, this BLM stuff that's going on. And I believe it'll get much worse. I believe leading up to the elections, it'll be very charged racially, lots of socioeconomic issues. As long as they keep maintaining this COVID idea, I don't believe things will get much better, especially financially. And now that's been sort of my mantra this whole time since April, March. I've been trying to let everyone know that what you're seeing right now is a wealth transfer. It's a great wealth transfer. This has nothing to do with a virus. And although on the face of it, it seems like it has to do with a virus, I think statistically by now, according to the financial data that we've received, that it's just not arguable anymore. Almost every week there's 800,000 to 1 million new unemployment claims in the United States of America. Multiple countries right now are essentially on a universal basic income, which means that their government provides them money and they don't have to show up to work. And although these ideas sound very nice, I believe we're recreating an environment that you would see from World War II. And that means that they're creating chaos to get more order. And that's typically the way that all this stuff works. During 9/11, we had the terrorist attacks, and then that followed up with the removal of several freedoms, the creation of the TSA. And the way that they made this all work out was terrorism is the problem, and our solution is Big Brother. Essentially tracking your phone calls, being able to tap your phone lines, check your IP address to see what type of internet activity you have. The TSA would monitor what would be deemed as suitable for being what items could be brought on a plane, where you can go, the passport location. It just made the whole process very, very controlled. And that seems to be the method to the madness of all of this. It's that if you could bring in lots of chaos and you could make people suffer, they will have to do whatever the governments tell them to do. And this process has been repeating itself in cycles, just like this market cycle that I'm about to explain. So with that being said, the reason why right now we have seen a massive peak in price and then now it's coming down is because we are heading towards the elections. The elections are very, very critical in all of this because every time we have an election, the stock market does bad. Every time we're moving into the election, the last 2 months, which are September, October, leading into the beginning of November, the markets perform poorly. And I could actually show this really quickly. Bear with me for a second. Okay, so right here, as you can see, we have this circle right here is September. And if you see the green bars are the election years. And right here, we have a green bar coming below the line, which means a bad month. And over here in October, we have an even bigger green bar below the green line. And if you have August, it's a high bar. So let's take a look at what happened with the cryptocurrency price. Remember, August should be high, September should be kind of average, and October should be low. So we have here August, very high. September, we're cooling off. And then moving into October, we could expect even lower. I'm not saying massively lower, and I'll get into that in a little bit in terms of how this will reflect into the exact price of Bitcoin. And then now if we go back to this data, we can see that November and December on election years do really well. Now, how will this add up with what we're about to expect? First, let me back out and show you exactly where we're at in these cycles. So we have this previous all-time high near this yellow line, followed by this PS stage, which is essentially we're coming down, and we're attempting to go back up, but we fail. So coming back down, we attempt to go high, then we come back down. Now we have this SC phase, which is essentially as low as it can get, which is right here, SC phase. So we're in this PS stage, and then essentially, boom, we bottom out. And you see how this just really crashed hard. Now we're gonna just hang out in this area, and then boom, price skyrockets up. Now this AR is called automatic rally because essentially anywhere you bought in this area, you're guaranteed to make significant profits moving up into this. So you have this SC phase and then boom, automatic rally. So we have the SC phase, high, automatic rally. Then we come down to this ST, which is after the automatic rally, coming down. ST. Then after the ST, we attempt to go up. ST. We attempt to go up. We fail at this level right here. Where's that level? It's below the automatic rally. And it lines up with the PS. This is how we know where we're at. Then after this failure, we enter what's called the spring, which is right here, spring. I believe we had this spring in March, in April, and then we come up from there, which is exactly what's happened. This area in particular is called test. This is a nice area to buy. This is where I was buying a lot. Back here, I was just a silent observer. I didn't really understand these market cycles, and now that I understand them, I'm making a lot more money now, and this is kind of what I'm here to teach you guys. So during this test, we have a breakout, and this breakout is a fake out. it's not a really true breakout. We hit resistance, and this resistance is because it can't surpass this automatic rally stage up here. So we know that this is a fake out because it can't surpass the price of the automatic rally. So I'll give an example. If I was aware of this whole process before I bought Bitcoin, I would know that anything below the automatic rally is a beautiful place to buy because that's where it's a point of control in this area. In order to really say that we're heading up in price, we need to break this automatic rally price of 13,000, around 13,000. So even if you bought up here at 12,000, you're still going to profit because you're below this automatic rally stage. Now you might not profit next month, but you'll profit in 6 months to 12 months. And I'll explain why. So once we fail this first breakout, we head down to something called an LPS. So I'll go back to the Wyckoff method, LPS. So if I had to show you on the chart where we were when we tested that higher level, we were right here. Now we're coming back down for the LPS. And there's usually 2 to 3 LPSs before we get to this next stage, which is the SOS. Now, in my belief, the elections will cause a lower LPS. So the first LPS was this one right here, when we went from 12,000 all the way down to 10,000. We tested. Now we failed. And I believe if they don't give out second stimulus checks to the American people, we will definitely see this price go down. And it'll go down, and then they'll use that to get more leverage into the elections. And this is just what they do. It's a psychological warfare. And I have this tool here to show you how the rest of this pattern is going to work itself through. So, assuming our price structure, we have the one lower LPS, the second lower LPS, and then I believe it'll start correcting itself post-elections. And it could happen even faster. And then once we get into the new year, I believe we'll be surpassing these levels. And here, we can actually call this an SOS phase. The SOS phase is when we surpass the automatic rally. So we have an LPS, an LPS, an SOS is when you surpass the price of the automatic rally. So I believe this SOS period will come around December, which means that buying 2 months ago, buying 3 months ago, or buying next month, you're most likely going to see profits moving into the holiday season. Now, the best point to mention is this next phase called a BU, or it's a backup phase. Now, a backup phase follows the SOS, and how this works is when the SOS price breaks above the automatic rally, it will come down to test the price of the automatic rally in order to find what's called support. And then we will trade in this area for a little bit before we skyrocket up. And it will actually skyrocket. It will move exactly like it did here when it went up parabolically. And that's why I marked this as the backup phase. So look at the difference between this backup phase, how low the price was, 3,000, and then my next backup phase prediction, which will be around 13 to 12,000. That's a significant amount of money difference. And what will happen is we'll move up significantly higher. We'll go past these all-time highs. and then we will come down to test these all-time high prices, and then we will go up further. This is exactly how these market cycles work. So what does that mean for us? That means we're probably going to enter a lower phase soon. And that's really critical to understand, because that means that a buying opportunity like down here is in the cards. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying that I'm certain that it'll occur. I'm looking for some key indicators, and that's what my program is going to offer everyone. It's going to offer a lot of this insight into understanding what's happening, why it's happening. A lot of things matter right now that are going on in the background. One of them is the elections. The second one is how the stock market is reacting. The third one is stimulus help. People need money right now. The next one is eviction moratoriums, so people getting evicted from their homes, homelessness. And then the next one is the coronavirus narrative. Now, the COVID narrative right now is that Europe is about to enter a second shutdown. So if Europe enters a second shutdown, we don't get any stimulus money, at least by late October, and the elections continue to have all of this nonsense based around RBG and everything else that they could throw at you, all these psyops. I'm expecting if all those three things happen, we can definitely see a price tumble down fast. It could go, I would say the lowest it would go is about 7,500, but then it'll come back fast. It'll come back faster than it did here. Now, what if only a couple of those things occur? What if we get some stimulus money? I sincerely believe if we get some stimulus money, that alone right there could just bring us into higher levels almost instantly. That's how these markets react to stimulus, by the way. Why? Because stimulus means that the American people and the people in general are being given money by their government. And where do they get that money from? They get it from the Federal Reserve System. The Federal Reserve is essentially allowing the printing of more debt. That debt gets given to the people, and the people use that money. Now, why do I believe we will get stimulus soon? Because they want to give you stimulus before this period right here. This period is called Q4. Why does Q4 matter? Because that's when everyone wastes all their money. The American people and most people in the first world celebrate Christmas and Thanksgiving and all this. They basically just blow all their money in this period of time. There's two periods of time where Americans blow all their money. It's during the summertime, and it's during this time of year, holidays. Everyone's buying everything, blowing their money. And why do I say blowing their money? Because we live way higher than our means. People will go into massive credit card debt during this time just to buy presents and overeat, overindulge. They don't take care of themselves. That's also why a lot of people get sick in the wintertime, by the way. Flu shots mixed with poor eating habits. And I know that's controversial, but that's just the way it is. You should actually be getting healthier during this time of year, but I'll save that for another video. So, essentially what I expect is they will give stimulus around the elections to get people to feel like the elections matter and that they actually are real, get you all to vote, and then that money that you have, you'll blow on Thanksgiving and Christmas. They know that you're just going to get it from them and then give it right back to them. This is how the system works. So when you give it back to them, we can expect the markets to have growth because we're spending our money. And that will just make everything look beautiful in the stock market, but in actuality, people will be becoming poorer. because they'll give you a $1,200 check. You're going to cover rent or whatever expenses, some food you need, and then whatever's left over, you're just going to blow on Christmas presents. And that's how this cycle is going to work. But what you guys are going to do who join this program is when you get that $1,200, you're going to be waiting for right here, this moment where it's peaking down. They give you the check right here, and you're going to buy crypto with it. If you can pay off your bills and do everything else with your cash flow, you want to take that $1,200 and put it into crypto because you know what's coming. Christmas time, the price is going to go up above the automatic rally. Now, if we look at this percentage-wise, what your gains could be if it dropped as low as 10,000 again, you're talking about 32% increase. And that'll happen in a 2-month period. So this is really critical. During my program, I'm going to be discussing things that are a lot more basic than this. But I just wanted to show you guys this so we can understand where we are in the market cycle. It's very important to understand that these patterns repeat themselves. So I'll go over this one more time. We had our all-time high. We start to fall really quickly. Test, which becomes this PS phase. We fail all of our tests. Then we sink lower. The lowest we'll get is the SC phase. Then we'll come up inevitably into the automatic rally, which is a very important phase. Then we'll drop down again into an ST phase. The lowest point of the ST phase is right before the SC phase. As you can see, they are a similar price level. Then we come up, and then we sink into what's called the spring, which just happened. We come up, we hang out in this area to test where we previously were, fake out, break out, come back down for an LPS. And then now, depending on the way things go, we can see a lower LPS. And then once the election nonsense gets out of the way, we will start to break through this automatic rally price into an SOS in which we will enter a backup phase. Now, the last thing I'll leave you off with before I end this video is this backup phase is where all the really rich people who invest buy. The reason is because this amount of time that it takes is 4 years. They're not concerned with this spring and this lower LPS. All they care about is getting in right before things become parabolic. You could have bought Bitcoin back here at all these lower prices, but who gives a shit when you could just buy here in the backup and then see an immediate return. Sorry, not even a return. You could see parabolic growth in your account within months. This is where smart money gets in. Now, we are so close to that. So close. About a year away from this parabolic move. So what that means is now is the time to accumulate. Now is the time you want to be buying crypto so that when it gets time to see this SOS phase, you were paying attention. You're not gonna be selling your crypto just yet because you understand what's to come. This massive blow up. So we want to be accumulating now, here, and in the backup before this. Okay, talk to you guys soon.